Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason in Summerfield, Illinois, which is just a small village in the northeastern part of St. Clair County. And so what am I doing here? Well, I'm going to talk about a guy who was a German revolutionary and a guy who immigrated to here after stirring up some what is considered controversy back in 1848 during the revolutions that happened in Europe. So I'm going to talk to you about a guy named Friedrich Hecker, and there's a historical marker recently put up by the Illinois State Historical Society. Plus, I'm going to take you to the place where he is buried, just not too far from here. Here we go. All right, so this is Summerfield Park. Doesn't look like there's anybody here, but who can blame them? It's like 95 degrees hot outside, and the humidity is probably higher than it should be. But here's that new marker. It was placed here a couple months ago. There was like a ceremony here. Friedrich Franz Karl Hecker lived from 1811 to 1881, born in Engelbachtal, Baden-Württemberg in present-day Germany. Hecker studied law at the University of Heidelberg. Hecker was one of the leaders who championed for democratic reforms in the 1848 uprisings in Germany, like many other 48ers. He eventually immigrated to the United States. He settled on a farm near Summerfield in the fall of 1848. A strong abolitionist, Hecker helped found and organize the Illinois Republican Party in 1856. During the Civil War, Hecker commanded the 24th and 82nd Illinois Volunteer Infantry Regiments. He died on March 24th, 1881, and was buried in the Summerfield Cemetery. We will be visiting his grave/monument later in this video. This is the sponsors, the Colonel Hecker Camp number 443, and then Hecker Post number 443 GAR, the family and friends of Hecker, Village of Summerfield / Horner Park Board, and then finally the Illinois State Historical Society in 2023. So in case you're wondering, what are 48ers? Well, 48ers were Europeans who either participated or supported the revolutions of 1848 that were going on all over Europe. Now, as far as present-day Germany, it was back then called the German Confederation, which was created by the Congress of Vienna in 1815. But by 1848, a revolution that was motivated by liberal, democratic, socialist, and nationalist sentiments attempted to transform the Confederation into a unified German federal state. Many German 48ers immigrated to the United States, including cities like Milwaukee, St. Louis, all over. And these were people who, had lots of professions, be it like baker, carpenter, blacksmith, you name it. And Hecker, of course, was one of them. And he just happened to settle just nearby Belleville, which is just not too far from here, but particularly here, as it says in the marker. Okay, so I'm going to go down that way to the cemetery. It's just outside town. So just a couple miles south of the village is Summerfield Cemetery, and there are a lot of really old headstones here, particularly right here, and some of them are actually in the German language. Very interesting. So I'm going to see if I can find Friedrich's grave site, and I've seen the picture on the internet, and unfortunately a lot of them look kind of the same, but it probably won't be that hard, so come with me. So I believe that I found it. I think it's one of the more bigger ones, and plus I see American flags decorated in this plot because I knew that he was buried with his wife, his family, and some descendants, if not all. But this is the final resting place of Friedrich Hecker, and he is buried with his wife Josephine, as well as they had at least 4 children. I don't know if they had any more, but according to findagrave.com, they are all buried here in these plots. Yeah, I mean, like Alfred is one of them. The father, mother, the wife of Alfred Hecker. And then we have another descendant who served during World War II, William Friedrich Hecker. And then another Arthur Hecker who passed away as recently as a year ago. Served in World War II, lived a really long life. It looked like he was 95 years old when he passed away. It looks like there are a lot more Heckers buried here. I mean, in this plot, that is. Going back to Friedrich Hecker, though, he did many speeches in his homeland of the German Confederation, and it was one of his many speeches, particularly about Baden being declared a republic, that got him forced to leave the country. So he was one of many who emigrated here in 1848. He moved to Belleville at first, but then he eventually settled here in Summerfield and bought a farm. I do not know where exactly the farm was or who owns or lives on the property or whatnot, but obviously, yes, he is buried here. And Hecker, Illinois, which is not too far, it's on the other side of on the bottom part of St. Clair County as well as Monroe County. It's a very small town. Hecker, Illinois, it's of course named after him. It was originally named Freedom, Illinois, but some other town in Illinois, according to the post office, already had that name. So it was a no-brainer to change it to Hecker, Illinois. And again, he was a Civil War hero, and during his time in the Civil War, he was severely wounded at the Battle of Chancellorsville while carrying a battle flag during a charge on Confederate positions. And there is also a monument dedicated to him in Cincinnati, Ohio. It wasn't until 1871, though, that Germany became unified, which was brought about by the victory over France in the Franco-Prussian War, also known as the Franco-German War. 2 years later, in 1873, Friedrich Hecker would visit his home country again. I think it would be his last time. But he didn't really have very much nice things to say during his last visit. He was complaining about the government not letting people, and you know, and the whole individualism in many of the residents there, but among other things. I'm sure a lot of people around here don't really know how important this man is, and even Germans in their, you know, in their homeland of Germany. I mean, this guy, I mean, he's buried all the way in this rural cemetery in Illinois, in the United States. A guy who helped shape the country 150, or actually longer than that, 175 years ago. It's crazy as it is. So here's a little stone dedicated to Colonel Friedrich Hecker, but I do not know when this monument was put up because it's got the names of all of his children on here as well as his wife. So it says here, yeah, September 28th, 1811, died March, or, well, in German it says Mars 24, 1881. I know very little German, so please forgive me there. And then Josephine, whose maiden name was Eisenhart, she was born in 1821, and then she passed away in 1916. But this is a very beautiful monument, and St. Clair County in recent years has definitely done a great job of preserving this. Okay, it looks pretty recent unless they added this part later, because it says here one of his descendants was a freedom fighter in Iraq who passed away January 5th, 2006. And another one, William Hecker Jr., I'm sorry, Sr., died in 2004. But very nice. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason in Summerfield, Illinois. Hope you learned a lot about history in this episode. All right, signing off.